There are a lot of spiritual practices, let's be honest. There's a few too many. Whether it's like just for creativity, if you're a writer or painter or musician, all of these practices for getting into flow, getting into the creative spirit, or whether it is simply self-help practices, trying to find inner peace or trying to find the drive and ambition to keep moving forward in life, or whether it is spiritual practices that come from whatever heritage that they come from. There's a lot of practices. What do we do about that, and how should we view them in a world where we have all moved around quite a lot, where there are many different heritages around us, where we are trying to find and trying to puzzle together our own kind of network, our own little ecology of practices that help us be balanced, help us be creative, be fit, be healthy in whatever way we are aiming towards. So how to view all these practices? I want to suggest today that we view them as languages. And just like the word bottle isn't actually a bottle, it is a word describing the thing, it's like an arrow towards it. All of these different practices are pointing towards something. Now, they all point towards different aspects of it, but they're all trying to point you towards a good life. Now, we can get into massive philosophical debates about what a good life is, but projecting into the future and having a dream, having a vision for the future puts you into a certain space. Meditating and claiming advantage, claiming ownership and responsibility for your own attention, again, puts you in, it builds you in a certain way and helps point you towards a good life. Why is this worth doing a video on? Why bother saying this? It's like, yeah, they're languages, big whoop-dee-doo. Well, if we take a moment to include all practices in what we're speaking about right now, we are automatically going to include spiritual and therefore religious practices. And historically, that has been a point of contention amongst different groups, amongst different tribes. So, affirming that we view them as languages all pointing towards the thing is important. Now, we can have our favorite language. We can say that ours captures a side that the others don't, and therefore that's just something that's really valuable. But if we try to propose that we can do without the other side, then we're going to get into difficulty, because we need all of the language to hold the good life. We need the Western kind of sacrifice of self and aspiration and dare to hope, and hope will be the redemption. Like, we need that, but we also need the Eastern philosophy that hope is the whip that you lash yourself with, because you're always hoping for more, you're always hoping for better, you're always hungry and need more and desires, and it gets into just like, overconsumption and materialism and everything that is in the West. Like, those two balance each other out, and that's just two, and you can stretch it out into all of the others. They capture something. There's something in them that is, there is something in them that has given them the gravity that has accumulated quite so much attention. Now, that is open to manipulation, and for sure is, like, in an internet age, that all gets very strange. But at least historically, there is something that functions. We can be totally secular here, and we can say Darwin and evolution, and just like, on the collective front, if we treat the collectives like you would an organism, then evolution says that only the good collectives survive. Only the ones that, like, have a certain type of value survive, that they seem to do something that works. It's not a mutation, just any random mutation that doesn't work. It's like, no, it's a mutation that adds value. Interesting. So if we treat collective sense-making tools such as psychotechnologies, such as, if you let me say it, religions, then we may be able to view all the practices as a language. Again, the reason why I say this is because there is some bit of a moment in our near future where it will be important to be collective again. It will be important to come back together. This is again why I'm doing the workshops on virtues, because virtues are the one thing that all of the tribes agree that they want. They all want to be wise. They all want to be accepting. They all want to be courageous. They all want all of the virtues. So, as always, I invite you to the workshops. Please message me if you're interested in that. It is an hour and a half of a talk, and always leads to one of those conversations where you walk away just being like, that was pretty good. It might start off being a little bit kind of clumsy, but there's structure to it, so you never feel lost. And by the end of it, I can almost guarantee that you'll walk away just being like, that was a good conversation. And I know it feeds me very well. And I'd be lost without it. So with that, there's a lot of confrontation that's going to happen or going to come about when we do need to come back together, because all of us have moved around. All of us are still aspiring to move around and venture off into a new land. But at some point we will all settle down, and we will all want a community. We will want a strong community. We will want to know our neighbours. We will want to be able to lend and borrow from each other in a way that makes us stronger together. Not to quote an ape from a very famous movie. But we are hungry for that. And I do believe that that is where true value is at the moment. But that is for another video. And that, by the way, is what all of the spiritual practices are for, is to reorientate you towards true value, whatever true value is, whether that is having more claim on your attention, knowing your North Star a little bit more, giving yourself a bit of distance from yourself if you journal or write, giving you freedom to express, fully express, over-express if you're into some sort of creative writing, like poetry or fictional writing or anything like that. Sensation and fun if you're into any of the slow-moving energy practices, such as traditional Tantra, although if you want to go for New Age Tantra, fire ahead. You will know what's on your radar at the moment already. And they are all trying to help you point towards what is truly valuable. But I do believe it will be together, whatever the true value is. And if we can agree that all those languages towards true value are languages trying to put us in better relationship with what is valuable, which, depending on your philosophical foundation, could be everything comes down to play, everything comes down to will to power, Nietzsche's phrase. Play is, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, Piaggio. And I'm going to stop there. So, there is a multitude of practices. Yes, it is very confusing. There are maybe a few too many, but they are all languages trying to point you towards what is valuable, what is good. And therefore, we can all share our languages together, perhaps over a cup of tea and maybe the topic of a virtue, if you were in such a workshop, if only they were available, for free every week. It's mad. So, with all of that said, I hope you've had a good week. I hope you're looking forward to the week to come. And I will see you in the next. Bye, guys.